This 14-day mental health series is to honor those whose lives have been touched by mental illness, and it's in response to a friend of mine who recently died of suicide. I wish to give hope to those who are struggling, because there is always hope. Welcome to the Joyful Family Podcast, where we explore how to nurture our relationships, communicate in ways that we feel heard and seen, and create joyful family relationships that last.
We're your hosts,
Vauna
and Roland. Join us on this joyful adventure called family.
Sometimes when we're struggling, it's really easy to forget to do the things that are necessary for taking care of ourselves physically.
It's especially important during those times to remember to take care of ourselves, because that's when we need it the most. And taking care of ourselves physically also helps us maintain a healthy state of mind.
Absolutely. So when I started having babies, I got really bad about taking care of myself, because I grew up in a household where my mom just took care of everybody and everything. And I didn't see her do...
She still does.
Yeah, I've never seen... she has implemented some self-care routines, but I never saw those when I was growing up.
Yeah, it can be hard as a parent, and 20 times harder as a mom, I can only imagine, because I think dads kind of play the feeble card, like, sorry, don't know how to handle kids, can't deal with kids. And I know I'm shortchanging some dads if I say that, because there are plenty of dads out there who are just absolute rock stars with the kids. And then there are the rest of us who have to really figure out how to be there for our wives and our kids. And when it's overwhelming like that, you can find yourself in a situation where you're forgetting to take care of yourself physically, and that just is an unhealthy place to be, both emotionally, physically, and psychologically.
There were a lot of years there that I just put on weight and continued to put on weight, because I was so busy doing everything except taking care of my body. And I didn't like to exercise. I had no interest in exercise, and I thought that you should just love me no matter how I looked.
But they always have.
Yes, you've been great about it. But I did really start to feel I didn't feel good physically. I felt comfortable with myself in the mirror, but I didn't feel good. Like, it was hard to play with the kids. We'd go to the park and I just wanted to sit on the grass because it was too hard to get up and down and move around.
That was one of the things for me too. I had some back injuries and got myself to the point where I could hardly pick up my own children. Maybe that's a weird way to say it. I could hardly pick up the kids, and I wanted to be able to play with them. I wanted to be able to do things like put them in the car seat and get them out of the car seat, but because I hadn't been taking care of myself physically, it affected my emotional state. And it wasn't until I made it a point to start exercising, which for me is a huge component of self-care, that I was able to get to the point where now I can do anything I want, and it's great. I have a fun time with the kids, which helps me stay in a positive state of mind, so I can, Vauna and I can go out and do stuff in nature and all that stuff that in the past I used to struggle with for a while.
I've also learned the joy in exercising, and that was something that I had never done my whole life. I was never an active person. All of my hobbies as a teenager were indoor hobbies, and I didn't play any sports. And so going to the gym was a new experience for me, and I have learned to love some of the group fitness classes there, and I know exercising is different for everybody. There are different things that I love to do, and different things that Roland loves, that you love to do.
Yeah, you don't generally find me in a group exercise class, although I do work out with a group of people.
That's right. Now, there are a lot of different ways to take care of ourselves physically. And for me, a big thing is getting enough sleep. It's funny how when we start having children, moms tend to really forget that we can take care of ourselves. And so I think there were several years that I was kind of like a walking zombie most of the time because I was so sleep deprived with babies being up during the night. And that actually made me very irritable, which was very hard on the family.
But when you're in that place, you don't realize that that's what's going on because you're so used to it.
Well, because I'm the self-sacrificing mom giving my all, but it's hurting everybody.
Yeah, and I used to feel like for almost all of my life, I got by on 6 hours of sleep a night. It wasn't until probably 2 years ago that I realized I should try to get 7 hours of sleep, and that if I can get 7 hours of sleep, I would feel better. And so for me now, part of my taking care of myself physically is to shoot for 7 hours of sleep a night. And again, we talk about when you don't necessarily feel like it, because there are times when you might want to stay up super late reading a book. You might want to stay up super late reading a show, but you have responsibilities in the morning that you've... Did I say reading a show? Yeah. I mean, really maybe you got subtitles on. Don't judge.
That's right.
But anyway, when you have to get up early for a commitment, it's best to go ahead and go to sleep at a time that's going to allow you to get the rest you need, even if you don't necessarily want to.
Well, and I found that even when I don't have to get up early for a commitment, if I stay up much later than my normal bedtime, even if I get the same number of hours of sleep, I feel pretty terrible the next day. I'm just groggy. Mm-hmm. And I do want to say that what works for me isn't always what works for you. And I need a solid 8 hours of sleep. And I used to think that there was something wrong with me because Roland could get by on 6. And it was different for me. And it's nice to realize that I can do what works for me and he can do what works for him.
Mm-hmm. And there are definitely days when I don't feel like maybe going and exercising. But I always feel better when I do afterwards. I have learned through experience that if I don't feel like exercising and I skip exercising, then I generally will feel worse. And if I choose to go, even if I don't necessarily feel like it, even if I just make it a light workout, I always feel better afterwards.
Absolutely, I found that too. And I want to say that there's also a lot of other ways that we take care of ourselves physically.
Eating right.
Eating right is really important, and that was something that I neglected for a lot of my adulthood, and it really makes a difference in how I feel. Mm-hmm. It makes a difference in my energy levels. It makes a difference in my mood even.
Doing simple things like, for Vauna, this is a huge one, getting to take a shower.
Yeah. Once I started having babies, it was hard to take a shower because I'd have to bring the little bouncer in and hope that the baby didn't cry while I was showering. And so now that's a big deal to me. It's so easy to put it off because I'm like, that's not a huge priority right now. And I've learned to make it a priority, that it's okay to just take 20 minutes and jump in the shower, and I always feel so much better. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I think that along with taking a shower, it took until my youngest child was 7 before I realized that it was okay to lock the door when I go to the bathroom.
Yeah, you won't catch me with the door unlocked when I'm going to the bathroom.
Yeah, but there's
always
a mom thing. A couple of kids running around that might need something, and heaven forbid I take 60 seconds and go pee real quick.
Yeah, that's got to be a mom thing. One of the other things I think is about taking care of yourself physically is doing what you need to do to feel attractive.
Yes.
When we all have different things. I know for me personally, I like to be clean shaven. When I start growing stubble, I feel grungy and just yucky looking. And so some days I let it go, but most of the time, especially if Vauna and I are going out on a date or something, usually make sure I've shaved beforehand because I just feel better that way. And even though that's maybe not caring for myself physically, it's something physically I do that helps me feel better.
I went about 15 years where I never put on makeup on a weekday, unless I was going somewhere really important. But really, I would say pretty much the only time I ever put on makeup was to go to church on Sundays. Mm-hmm. And I just in the last couple of years have started putting on makeup every day, whether or not I plan on leaving the house, because usually I do at some point end up leaving the house for something. And it just makes me feel better. I know it's different for everybody. That's not what matters necessarily to all women, but to me, it makes me feel more confident.
So the key thing is to make sure that you're aware of what things physically you can do to take care of yourself, what things you can do to take care of yourself physically that help you psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. And when you're maybe having an off day or things are tough, those are kind of the times you want to double down on those routines instead of letting them slide. So, I mean, shoot to make them a habit, whatever it is for you. Work on making it a habit so that on the days that might be tough, it's something that's easier to do, right?
Yep, I like that. Thank you. I think you said that very well. In those moments when you really don't feel like getting up and taking care of yourself, I understand those days that we struggle, that are hard to do the things that help us feel better, but I guarantee you that if you will pull yourself up and take a shower and put on your makeup and do something, some sort of physical exercise, whether you go to the gym or whether you take a walk, even if it's just a walk to the mailbox and back, get some sunshine, because sunshine's also really important for our physical and mental well-being. But it'll make a difference, and I'd love to hear in the comments what kind of experience you have when you're not wanting to do this, but you do it anyway. Thanks for listening to the Joyful Family Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share, and leave a review. Follow us on Instagram at Vauna Bird Family Coach and Roland Bird Author. Learn more about our work at vaunabird.com. Stay tuned. We're looking forward to sharing more with you next week.